What is up, everyone? This is Juicy Hockey with Gordo, formerly known as, or people still can call it 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. Today, we're going to be talking about the juiciest headlines, the rumors, and the Stanley Cup playoffs are around the corner, and it's 4:20 tomorrow. All right, first off, so the biggest, juiciest story is that the Arizona Coyote saga isn't over. Perhaps not. So they are technically inactive and moving the players, management, trainers, and equipment staff and their logistics people to Salt Lake City, Utah. So it's basically a three-way triangle. So Alex Marlowe, the owner of the inactive Arizona Coyotes, sold it to the NHL for $1 billion, and the NHL flips it for a profit of $1.2 billion to Ryan and Ashley Smith, who own the Utah Jazz and Real Salt Lake. And the Arizona Coyotes will be inactive indefinitely from the next 3 to 5 years. And the first phase is that June 27th comes around, win the land auction, they got to get a location. And this is going to be very interesting. Let's see how this new fan base embraces the new Utah team. They're going to have a new team name or mascot temporarily, but it's going to be exciting. Let's see how Ryan Smith, he's fresh, he's young, he's new into the NHL world, and I'm looking forward to see him run the show in Salt Lake City. But it sucks to see an NHL team like the Arizona Coyotes, 28 years, they couldn't get it done. They just had 3 bad arenas, bad luck, and 5 owners. It's unfortunate. It's a darn shame. The first arena, you had a great location, but it was horrible sightlines for hockey. The second one, great arena, horrible location, too far away. Third one, you were on a college campus. They had a deal. They're going to go like in Tempe, but somebody snitched and basically the arena deal fell through. And it wouldn't be fair to the players and the owners of the NHL for the next 3 to 5 years playing in a college arena that wasn't suited for a long-term viable home for an NHL franchise. Yeah, I feel very bad, for the Arizona Coyotes. At least the truth came out, not like the Atlanta Thrashers, the last relocation in the NHL. They just quickly just skipped town because that franchise at the time, they had no money, they were dead broke, and they had no home. It's unfortunate. It's a damn shame. I hate relocation. It takes away the community. It takes away the whole life. It takes away everything that you built for, relationships, jobs, opportunities, and it's just a sad thing. But on the other side, so Salt Lake City is technically, quote, a new expansion team with the Arizona Coyote players. So the Coyotes are inactive until they get their arena and their personnel straightened out within the next 3 to 5 years. So we are at 33 teams now. So 32 active and 1 inactive team. So like I said, so if people are confused by this, just look at the Cleveland Browns, the original Browns that went from in the 40s and 50s to 1995, where they relocated to Baltimore and they put them in as an inactive franchise. They kept the records, the colors, and all that stuff. So the Baltimore Ravens was an expansion team. And it haunts Cleveland to this day, the curse of Cleveland. So, like I said, the Ravens won 2 Super Bowls. Cleveland Browns only won 1 playoff game and since they came back into the NFL. And I'll say this, this could happen consequentially. Salt Lake can have a very special team in the next decade. And this product and this prospects of the Arizona Coyotes, the team they got, this team has a lot of youth and promise. And luckily, the Arizona Coyotes, they're going to have the special privilege of getting a new team, but everything's going to go back to normal once they get everything straightened out. So they got the Seattle Kraken idea and the Vegas idea of assembling an instant contending team. I know it sucks, but NHL would be at 33, and then 34, 35 would be Atlanta and Houston, and a potential Canadian market like Quebec City or Kansas City or San Diego in the long run. But it's going to be exciting. Like I said, Ryan Smith is going to be a interesting owner to say the least. And I bet it's going to be very juicy. And they're going to be playing out of the Delta Center, and that's going to be their temporary home once they get their arena built for the 2034 Olympics in Salt Lake City. And that's where the new arena is going to be. So they're going to figure out how to get their sight lines and their obstruction seating. So the current arena seats at 12,000, and they had to find a way to make 5,000 seats, seeable, so they can have better views and no obstruction views. But every time, that's the fourth bad arena. I mean, if they would have figured, hey, hockey's going to be here, we got to have great sight lines. But nope, we got to say this is mainly a basketball arena, and we're going to make it hockey nothing fiddle. But that was stupid. If they would have gotten something done in Phoenix, with Jerry Colangelo, instead of having that one side folding up, if they would have made it completely perfect and spent the money while the construction process, hey, the Coyotes would still be in Arizona. But money talks, money walks. They didn't want to spend the money to make that adjustment, but they just say, okay, hockey's coming to town. And oh yeah, seats fold up in one end. Stupid, stupid, stupid. If the NHL would have knew that was going to happen, they should have just done, like I said, a million times. Go to the fairgrounds, redevelop the area, and bam, you would have had an arena, problem solved. And speaking of new ownership, and we'll be right back after these messages, and stay tuned because this is going to be a shocker, something that's juicy. We are back. So now we're going to talk about the surprise sale of the Buffalo Sabres and the Rochester Americans and the Rochester Nighthawks of the National Lacrosse League and the Buffalo Bandits. Pretty shocking move by the Bagulas, just selling off their NHL team, their American League team, and their two National Lacrosse League teams. Very shocking to say the least. And they're just going to be mainly focusing on the football side of things. And I don't know. What's the juiciest thing is, who's the new owner of the Buffalo Sabres? I'm curious. I saw this headline. I'm going, whoa, that's juicy right there. I'm like, I wonder who bought the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, it's a mystery right there. And the sale came out of nowhere. And I don't know who is the new owner. And I dug through, I played dig 'em, and guess what? I still don't know who owns the team. I bet it was a quiet sale, and they're going to wait until the off season who's going to be the new owner of the Buffalo Sabres. That explains why they made the coaching change, and something tells me hopefully this 13-year nightmare curse is over, so the Buffalo Sabres can finally make progress and make the playoffs. It's a damn shame for that organization. They have one of the most hardcore fan bases out there, the most loyal fan base. The Buffalo Sabres, it's unbelievable. For 13 years, they missed the playoffs. They have winning records. Some of the seasons they were winning records, but it's just unacceptable. 13 years. It's embarrassing to see a franchise with a past history, a strength of history, a consistency, and they just couldn't get over the hump. You've had franchise players come and go, and it's unfortunate. And, Ramas Darlene is going to be the new potential captain, and they've got a strong blue line for the Buffalo Sabres in the long run. You've got, Bowen Byram, you've got Owen Power and Ramas Darlene. That defense is going to be very unique for the Buffalo Sabres. Tage Thompson had a step back, but their goaltending is solid. But they need a formula and a success plan. They need to find a coach who can take the Buffalo Sabres to the next level. They need an experienced coach who can make a turnaround. No more excuses, no more inexperiences. They've had two somewhat rebuilds, and they still can't get over the hill or the mountain. They got to get it done. They got to get it right. This is just embarrassing for a franchise that is a great fan base. And look at the attendance. You could see more blue seats at KeyBank Arena than you know than the attendance of the fans of themselves. It's crazy to see a owner for 13 years who spends the money, but there's no product. You lost Jack Eichel, you lost a lot of superstar franchise players, and you just chased them out. I hope this new ownership for the Buffalo Sabres can turn around. And like I said, I don't know who's the new owner, but we'll have to see and find out during the offseason. Or possibly at the State of the Union and Stanley Cup Finals with Gary Bettman and Bill Daly and the Players Association, the owners, But in the meantime, the NHL is going to be fun to watch because Stanley Cup playoffs are around the corner, and we'll be right back after these messages because I got my juiciest predictions coming from the East to the West. And I'll tell you, it's going to be fun to watch, and stay tuned. We are back at 2 minutes of the box with Gordo. That's formerly known as, and this is Juicy Hockey with Gordo. All right, now we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. All right, we're going to start in the Eastern Conference with my predictions. All right, in our first round matchup, we're starting off with the New York Rangers, the President's Trophy winning New York Rangers against the Washington Capitals, who had the worst goal differential since 1991 for a team that make the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I'll tell you this, the New York Rangers winning the President's Trophy, it's not the first time. The Rangers won the President's Trophy back in 2014-15 season and in 1993-94 and the 91-92 season. I'll say this, will this be a sign that the first time in 30 years that the waiting is over, the New York Rangers are going to be the Stanley Cup champs? But I'll tell you, the New York Rangers will run the Capitals over. I mean, Charlie Lindgren, he's done a great job, taking over for Darcy Kemper. But I see that the New York Rangers have more weapons. Ovechkin, he had a strong second half of the season. This Washington Capitals team is on one leg. They're old. They've got some youngsters with firepower, but I still don't think that's enough. And overall, I see this series being a quickie, 4 to 5 games. I'm going with the New York Rangers. That's the easiest choice right there. And then the next one, the Florida Panthers, the Atlantic Division champs against the Tampa Bay Lightning, who is the wild card number 1. It's the first time since 2 years. This is the third time we're seeing a matchup between the Sun Belt Sunrise of the Sunshine State, with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. 3 years ago, you saw that this rivalry was like, wow, nothing we've seen before. We've seen it in the regular season, but the playoffs, it's a different animal with, Tampa and Florida. And, that series went to 6 games. And then the following year, the Panthers, who won the President's Trophy 2 years ago, and they're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, who just won their 2 Stanley Cups in a row in 2020 and 2021. And everybody expected the same, it was going to be a very close series. All like the first 3 games were very close, 1-goal games, but it hit the fan. It really hit the fan, and the Panthers got swept, and it was ugly. And Bill Zito was not happy about losing to Tampa Bay that way, and that season slipping away. And the Panthers made one of the biggest, boldest trades in offseason history, trading, Jonathan Huberdeau, who had an all-time career high in assists in points. It was very shocking for Matthew Tkachuk. They needed the grit and all that, and the hard-nosed hockey. And look what happened 1 year later. 2022-23 season. There was a little bit of struggle for the Panthers in the standings, but they made the playoffs, and Tkachuk made a huge impact. He was a finalist for the MVP. Clutch. Took the team to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they lost to Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games. And, this Florida Panthers team, they will smother you and they'll kick your ass, which is juicy about it is the Panthers, you do not want to F with this team. They will be in your face. They will kill you. They will just rock your world. They'll drive you insane. And, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they lost to the Maple Leafs in the first round last year, but this year, they had a very strong second half and including post-trade deadline record. And I think that the Florida Panthers, this series is for them for the taking because this is an all or nothing, And if they lose this series, this will be a bigger disappointment than 2 years ago. And I believe, it's going to come down to the goaltending, the special teams. And I think the Florida Panthers are a deeper team. And, the Lightning have experience, but it's not experience like it was last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm going to say this is going to be an intense series. I think it's going to be one of the best, like third time's a charm, or hopefully it's just going to be like a bloodbath. And hopefully, it's going to be exciting and intense. And I see the Florida Panthers prevailing this series 5, maybe 6 games tops. And now we're talking about the Atlantic Division matchup, the 2-3, the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Here we go again. Are we going to see a potential 2013 collapse of the Maple Leafs? But this is going to be fun to watch. Is Boston going to have a very strong goaltending defensively? And can Pasta do the job up front with Charlie Coyle and them? But, Toronto's got the firepower with Nylander, Marner, and Austin Matthews, especially Austin Matthews and JT and their defense. And I'll tell you, the Maple Leafs have somewhat followed the motto of the Florida Panthers. They want to be gritty and grindy. And, the goaltending is my concern for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Boston's got the better goaltending on their end, but I believe the depth is Toronto's favor. And I see the Toronto Maple Leafs prevailing this series 6 or 7 games. Toronto's got to do this right. And, and it would be embarrassing for the Bruins once again, losing the first round like that. I mean, listen, Jim Montgomery's a very good coach, but I'm just kind of like, okay, this is going to be a very tough offseason. I just think that's amazing how the Bruins, are still contending. And I think they're going to have some downgrades in the offseason with goaltending or whatever. One of them is going to get traded. But like I said, I'm going to go Toronto 6 to 7 games. And now we've got in the Metropolitan Division, we're the second and third. You've got the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Islanders. This one is one of my favorite series, besides the Maple Leafs and the Bruins and the, Lightning and Panthers. But this one's one of my favorites. Last year, this is vengeful. This is revenge right here. The Islanders are playing the Hurricanes again. Instead of having Lane Lambert right behind the bench, you've got Patrick Waugh. Patrick Waugh is an intense individual, very competitive, high headstrong type of guy. And you got Rob Brind'Amour on the other end for the Carolina Hurricanes. This is going to be a very fun matchup. It's going to be the juiciest matchup on the market. And to me, I love this series. I believe this series is going to go back and forth, back and forth. This is going to be a 1-goal game, basically. And I see that, we're going to see an upset right here. Listen, I know everybody thinks, oh, Carolina Hurricanes, they're going to be going back to the cup. They're going to go to the conference finals again and all that stuff. Like you never underestimate Patrick Waugh. When Patrick Waugh was playing back in the day with Montreal, 1986, he carried the Montreal Canadiens as a Cinderella story, got them a Stanley Cup. And then in 93, he did the same thing. He won 11 overtime games and he was just phenomenal. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy because of that, because of his performance. And, listen, I love Rod Brind'Amour and, and Patrick Waugh, like this series right here, the Islanders had one of the weirdest roller coaster seasons on record. And, there was some consistency and inconsistency. One day they're in the playoffs and third place in the Metro. The next day they were wild card out of the picture. Carolina Hurricanes. I mean, the Hurricanes got a lot of strong weapons of Jake Gensel and Evgeny Kuznetsov. And, the Hurricanes got strong depth. The Islanders, you know how they play with their strict defense, and they'll drive any opponent crazy. But that series right there, this will go deep. I believe it's going to be a 1-goal game for each of the games. This will go to 7. And I know it's going to sound crazy and controversial, but I'm going to go with the New York Islanders. I'm not being biased. I believe the New York Islanders, the way they're playing right now, it's going to change a lot of people's minds. And that's what I believe in. And this will be a fun first round. But I know Carolina's got some great assets, but playoffs is a different season. And this will go, like I said, 7 games. This is going to be a 7-game series. And I believe that the Islanders, they will prevail. I mean, in a unorthodox way. I think Patrick Waugh will bring the memo and the message. Listen, Rod Brind'Amour can do the same thing. It's an either or, it's a toss-up series, but I feel it's 50-50. Like I said, I'm going to go with the Islanders for this one. This one was a very difficult decision. But now let's get to the second round. You've got the Florida Panthers against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And to me, it's like Groundhog Day all over again. It's going to go to 4 or 5 games. I believe the Florida Panthers will prevail this series, and this will go 5 games, easily 5. And the Florida Panthers, like I said, they will they'll run you over. They'll scare the crap out of you. They'll make you feel bad. They'll ruin your self-esteem. But does the Maple Leafs have enough steam and willpower? And the Panthers did a great job doing it last year, and I believe they'll do the same job again this year. And then you've got in the second round of the Metro, you've got the Battle of New York between the Islanders and the Rangers. That series right there, I see it going to go 6 games, and the New York Rangers will prevail that series. And in the conference finals, it will be the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers. Will the New York Rangers break the President's Trophy curse and their own Stanley Cup final, winning the cup drought? To me, that series is going to go to 7. Florida Panthers will win that series in 7. It's going to, hopefully, the Panthers, think about why they got Tarasenko and Okposo. Their defensive depth, they've got the depth. They got a lot left in the tank, more than they did last year. When they went to the Cup Finals last year, they were like on crutches. They were in wheelchairs. They were coming out of the hospital bed. Hopefully the Panthers can stand and stay alive. I know the Rangers are a very, very dangerous team with Breadman and Kreider and Jacob Trouba and stuff, and Adam Fox. Like I said, I think the Florida Panthers will win that series in 7 games. And they will be representing the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Finals of this year in 2024. And we'll be right back after these messages. And coming right back, we're going to talk about the Western Conference Stanley Cup playoffs in my bracket and see who's going to be representing the Western Conference. We are back. Now we're going to be talking about the Western Conference bracket. And I'll tell you, we're going to see a juicy Western Conference playoff. All right, first off, we've got the matchups between the Dallas Stars, the number 1 team in the Western Conference and the Central Division champs, against the reigning Stanley Cup champs, the Vegas Golden Knights. Well, this series is going to be fun to watch. These 2 teams played against each other in the conference finals last year, and it was back and forth. This year, not so much. I don't trust the Vegas Golden Knights goaltending. I know they got their depth, they're doing that whole cheating LTIR crap again, with Mark Stone and all that stuff. I'm not we need to send this team back to the boonies. Seriously. I believe that the Dallas Stars have Jake Ottinger. He's one of the best goalies and young goaltenders in the National Hockey League. I like White Johnson. I really love how young and youthful that how Jamie Benn's been resurrected and Tyler Seguin and the whole defense of the Dallas Stars. Michigan, Mayor Michigan, Hishkinen, whatever. He was unbelievable. I believe the Dallas Stars have the better depth. They have the better all-around team. And I see the Dallas Stars like obliterating Vegas. I don't trust Vegas' goaltending. Like I said, I don't trust their goaltending. I know their depth. They got Anthony Mantham, Noah Hannafin, and could we see the last of Jonathan March? So I think Marchie's going to be out the door. He's going to sign a new free agent deal with another team next season. And are we seeing the house of cards in the casino world in Vegas dwindling? I really think that the Dallas Stars are going to Rain Man the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, Rain Man. We're literally going to see a hostile takeover in the casino. I believe that the Dallas Stars will win this series in 5 games or a possible sweep. That's just me. And, we're going to see a new Stanley Cup champ. Now we've got in the Pacific Division champs of the Vancouver Canucks, the Pacific Division champs against the first wild card hot Nashville Predators. This series is going to be very juicy. I love it. It's all in favor because, you've got 2 Coach of the Year candidates. You've got 2 Coach of the Year candidates and Andrew Brunette and Rick Tocchet. And, you've got Thatcher Demko and you've got UC Soros. You've got Quentin Hughes and Roman Yossi. And you've got Elias Pettersson and Philip Forsberg. I mean, this is going to be a fun matchup. And I'll tell you, this series right here, I believe it's going to be close. Very, very close. Power play, penalty kill, all that stuff. I believe it's going to be down to the wire. I got a feeling it's going to be every game is going to be a 1-goal game. 1-goal game. And I see this is going to be a juicy but controversial, finish in that first round. I'm going to go with a surprise pick, the Nashville Predators. I trust Nashville. We've seen the Vancouver Canucks, playoff history, in the last few years. I've seen the last few years. After they made it to the Cup Finals next year, they lost the first round. But I got Nashville in 7 games, and they'll be heading to the second round. Now you got the Edmonton Oilers versus the LA Kings. Here we go again, 3rd straight year. It's the Oilers and Kings. You got the Carl Gretzky connection and thing. But I'll say this, Quinn Byfield is becoming the new Kopitar, and Kopi and Douts. Those 2 guys are still carrying the load and helping out, and the young guys helping out. And Cam Talbot's been playing very well, and the coaching change made a good result. And I know the Oilers got a lot of firepower with Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid. And, hope Stuart Skinner, can play out of his mind. I mean, he struggled quite a bit last year in the playoffs, but, the Oilers defense is a little bit of a sensitive subject. Evan Bouchard's got 80 points. He's one of the quietest, underrated defensemen in the NHL. I got a hunch that we're going to see, some close games, but I'm going to go Edmonton in 5 or 6 games. The Oilers, they're on a mission. They really want to get to that Stanley Cup really bad. And, they have the team, they have the goal scoring, they have the depth, they have the dangerous talent. And I see the Oilers are going to be a steamroller, and they got a lot in the tank for them. And that's a juicy fact right there. There's a lot of juice in that tank for the Edmonton Oilers. And now you've got the Central Division, another juicy matchup between the Stanley Cup champs of 2 years ago, the Colorado Avalanche against the Winnipeg Jets. No one expected the Winnipeg Jets to be a 2nd seed in the Central Division. No one did. And the Winnipeg Jets, I mean, like last offseason, there was a lot of questions, like if they're going to keep Connor Hollaback and Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. I mean, they were going to have a total gut job rebuild, and there were rumors of attendance issues and relocation. And the Colorado Avalanche, they've got great teams, but the concern is their goaltending. And Winnipeg's got the best goaltender in the NHL, and Carl Hollaback. And I'll tell you, this series can go either way. I know McKinnon's a superstar for the Colorado Avalanche. Winnipeg's got a great group of young guys, and I could see this series go to Winnipeg's favor. 6-7 games. And I trust Connor more than Georgiev. I trust Connor more. It's not being biased. I really trust, the Winnipeg Jets more than the Avalanche. And the Avs lost controversially last year in 7 games, and they don't have the Landeskog. And I really Middlestats playing his first playoff game, and I think he's going to show everyone that he can produce a lot, and I think he's a very good underrated player, and he's a premier playmaker, and I like his two-way game a lot, and he's got a bright future with the Avs. And overall, this series will go, like I said, Winnipeg's favor, and I think Winnipeg's gonna make some noise in the next round of the playoffs. But now let's get to the second round of the playoffs. Now you've got the Dallas Stars against the Nashville Predators. I mean, this rivalry is fun to watch. This is a fun matchup. And I'll say this. Dallas, is got them by the books. I see this series gonna be, they got 2 great goaltenders. This series can go to 5-6 games, and I'm gonna go with Dallas. I mean, Nashville, they had a great run, but I really see the writing on the wall, and I tell you, Dallas is very dangerous, and they're fast, they're agitating, and I think, and they're just a train right now. I wouldn't be in front of that train. And now you've got Edmonton and Winnipeg in the second round. I'll say this: that matchup right there is a unique one. And goaltending, on Winnipeg side, that's the advantage, and all around game. And I think that Edmonton's got all the weapons, and I believe it's going to be the steamroller. I mean, a few years ago they played against each other in the playoffs, and Winnipeg swept them. I see this series going in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers are dangerous, and they're on a mission. They have all or nothing for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman, and Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard and such. But I'll tell you, the Oilers look deadly, and we could see a potential, reactivated rivalry between the Oilers and the Stars in the conference finals. And I'll tell you this conference final matchup, this will be juicy and bloody and hard-nosed hockey. And I think this series is going to go 6 or 7 games. I see the Dallas Stars prevailing this series. And the Dallas Stars are just that team. They're a train. They're a freight train. They are just ready just to run you over. And the Dallas Stars will be representing the Western Conference for the 2024 Stanley Cup Finals. And we'll be right back after these matches when we'll be talking about the potential matchup between the Florida Panthers and the Dallas Stars. We'll be right back. We are back. And now for the finale of the show for today. We got the juiciest Stanley Cup Final matchup. Here we go again. The Sunbelt Stanley Cup Finals sequel. Instead of going Vegas, but now we're going to go another no income tax state, the Florida Panthers against the Dallas Stars. I got to say, this is going to be an intense matchup. And Florida, I think it's going to go back and forth. And this is good. And, you're going to see a lot of intensity. And I'll tell you this, 4 years ago, Tampa Bay, they won this in 6 games. And I could see Florida winning this in 6 games. That's my juiciest pick. I got the Florida Panthers prevailing and winning the 2024 Stanley Cup against the Dallas Stars. And the Conn Smythe Trophy, this will go to Sasha Barkov. You know, he's going to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Hard-working player, two-way game. He's a playoff player and a performer. And, you know, it could go to Sam Reinhart, you know, like he scored 57 goals. Can he make a clutch sequence, you know? And then, you know, could Aaron Ekblad be a Conn Smythe Trophy winner? I mean, who knows? You know, maybe Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Nick Cousins even. Hell, I mean, I'm just getting giddy and getting goosebumps saying this, but the Florida Panthers will win their first ever Stanley Cup, and Los Lolas will be bumping and jumping around for the Stanley Cup parade in downtown Fort Lauderdale and in Miami and West Palm Beach. You know, the whole tri-counties of South Florida will be embracing the Florida Panthers. And you've got to give all the credit to Bill Zito, the man who's the genius behind, you know, the Florida Panthers being this contending team. And we'll be right back after these messages with our closing thoughts. Here's my final thought of this episode for 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo, or Juicy Hockey, like everybody likes to call it, with Gordo. All right. So what a awkward press release with the owner of the Arizona Coyotes and Gary Bettman. It's like John and Kate Gosselin, you know, like, and then you got a Karen just yelling and making it awkward. I mean, I gotta say, it's by far like a politically, like, sportual awkwardness. And Gary Bettman was pissed. He was very pissed at this guy. And, you know, I wish it had to be this way, but how awkward that is. And, you know, the NHL did a Cleveland Browns today. They did a Cleveland Browns, and yeah, I'm glad that it's technically still there, but inactive, and Salt Lake is an expansion team. Boy, I feel that this isn't going to end. This is just the beginning. I think this is one of the most bizarre hockey stories. You know, it just keeps going. It's just one of the most awkward stories out there. I mean, you know, the Coyotes, you know, like, it's like a cat had 9 lives, and I mean, they're still standing, but I mean, they're in a comatose for a while. The Coyotes, you know, I believe they'll come back, but will this owner come back? I mean, after this, what this press conference did, you know, it was just very bizarre and awkward. Overall, I see that the NHL needs to do a better job in background checks. And, you know, it baffles me that you leave a top 5 TV market to go somewhere like it's almost near Green Bay level. I mean, no disrespect to Salt Lake City. I know Salt Lake City's got a great track record with hockey, you know, with the Golden Eagles and the Grizzlies. But, you know, it was just awkward, you know, how everything folded out. I mean, for months, I got friends who play for the Coyotes and work for the Coyotes, and they knew it was like, we're never going to get the real answers of, you know, if this guy paid his bills and all that stuff. We're never going to know. I mean, I think it's just theater, and it was just a little suspenseful. And I mean, we didn't get a far gone conclusion. It was just a very bizarre press conference, and they just kept interrupting with each other. It's just like dealing with marriage counseling, I guess. I mean, good God. I mean, like I said a minute or two ago, it's like watching John and Kate Gosselin over again. Good grief. Are you kidding? You know, and it was just I mean, I wouldn't sip that. It's not. It was just like a sour juice, like Sour Patch or something that was just like so sour, left a very bizarre taste in my mouth. I mean, it kind of woke me up, but it just didn't taste well. And I'll tell you, I believe that, this is going to be somewhat of a Quebec Nordiques, when they went to Colorado and they became an instant contender. Could we see that? I mean, that right there is going to be a game changer. And I mean, it was just, unfortunate circumstances, but honestly, I hope it turned out better. But luckily, the NHL is going to be coming back to Arizona in 3 to 5 years. They got to get something done as soon as possible. And, it was just a real unfortunate but bizarre circumstance. And hopefully the NHL will learn their lessons and do their homework and due diligences on future buyers of any NHL franchise. And that is it for 2 minutes in the box with Gordo, or like we call it, Juicy Hockey with Gordo. We'll be with new episodes for the next 2 months for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And get ready, guys. It's juicy hockey, baby. We're talking every night. There's no day offs. And a new flavor. It's going to be a flavor of the day, and it's going to be juicy. And I cannot wait to tell you how I feel about these games. Hope you guys enjoy the episode and enjoy the weekend and enjoy the playoffs. And we'll be with new episodes this upcoming week. Good night, everybody.